The comic dance drama Migawari Zazen, the Zen substitute, was written by Okamura Shiko and first staged in 1910. It is performed to both Tokiwaza music composed by Kishizawa Shikisa VII and Nagaota music by Kineya Mitaro V. The work is classed as a matsubame mono, pine board piece, indicating that the subject derives from the much older No or Kyogen repertoires. The action will unfold before the stylized backdrop of a large pine tree flanked by bamboo that resembles a No stage. The fashion for such matsubame mono reached its peak in the late 19th century, when the star actors Danjuro IX and Kikugoro V created a succession of such dance dramas. Migawari Zazen, however, was the first such work created by Kikugoro VI, and it proved such a hit that he included it among his family's collection of favorites called Shinko Engeki Jushu. Part of its success lay in the pairing of two of the 20th century's most illustrious actors, Kikugoro himself and Bando Mitsugoro VII. This month's production stars Kikugoro's grandson Kanzaburo and Mitsugoro's great-grandson Mitsugoro X. Offstage flute and drums play a motif borrowed from No called katashagiri, heard as an introduction to all matsubame mono. As the curtain lifts on Migawari Zazen, we should imagine that we are now inside the mansion of a feudal lord. The musicians begin with an auspicious introduction. In the lyrics, "Ever thus throughout the land a safe and prosperous reign. As proof, harmony and concord grow thick as rampant grass." These musicians belong to the Tokiwaza school, the first of two different styles of music to be heard in the course of the dance. Tokiwaza is a narrative style, but one that developed specifically to accompany kabuki dance dramas in the late 18th century. There is peace not only in the public, but also in the private domain, for within the Lord's mansion we hear, "Not a breeze stirs the pine trees painted on the sliding doors." The new reed mats, still tinged with blue, spread out before us like a tranquil sea. Briefly, the stick and shoulder drums beat out a pattern called koi-ai to usher in the principal character. Lord Ukyo has entered and will declare that he is one that dwells on the outskirts of the capital. Lord Ukyo is played by Nakamura Kanzaburo. 1 year ago, he says, while on a trip to the eastern provinces, he took lodging at the house of an influential man in Nogami and was there attended by a lovely young girl named Hanago. That Hanago has now come to the capital and insists upon seeing him again. Ai tai, she writes, I want to meet. He has received countless sweet letters, yet his wife, whom Lord Ukyo calls the mountain witch, will not let him alone for a second. Thus, a troubled man is he, who desires only to go to his beloved Hanago. At last, he has a good idea. First, he will call the old witch and tell her of his plans. He calls now in the gentlest of tones. Dearest wife, are you there? The singers describe how the wife, enticed by her husband's amorous voice, hurries in to join him like a mandarin duck swimming to its mate. And yet, we hear, his thoughts of romance do not lie with her. How different it can appear, the two-faced heart. Accompanied by her maids, the lady Tamanoi has entered. She asks why she has been called. Lady Tamanoi is played by Bando Mitsugoro. First, he invites her to sit in the place of honor within the mansion room. The right of the stage is normally reserved for characters of higher rank. As he is the lord, it should be his place. But the lady is of such a frightening disposition that he defers to her. He has only one thing to say. It's just that, of late, he's been plagued by such terrible dreams that he's decided to make a pilgrimage to some Buddhist temples. He only wanted to let her know. But what manner of pilgrimage is it to be, and how long will it take? Traveling around temples throughout the country will surely take 1 year, or perhaps 2 years. But Lady Tamanoi will be sad without him all that time, and she orders her maids to prevent him from leaving. He is touched by their concern, for it shows how much they care for him. However, his nightmares have been so bad that he begs to be allowed to go. If he is really so anxious to perform religious penance, then, to put her ladyship's mind at rest, he should do it at home. Is such penance really possible within one's own house? Why, yes, it is. The two maids begin to explain in dance form the various kinds of prayer. This kabuki dance is in fact based on an older work from the Kyogen theatre called Hanago, and in its performance it retains some of the conventions found in Kyogen. True Kyogen plays are usually seen in conjunction with classical Noh dramas, and served to lighten the mood between the more serious Noh works. However, the kind of dance we see now is pure kabuki in style, and along with the music, was added to the piece when Migawari Zazen was created in 1910. The maids sit down to pray and mime beating prayer bells like those used in the Pure Land sect of Buddhism. Their fans become dangling gourds as the rhythm is likened to the bobbing action of gourds afloat on a stream. We hear the prayer Namoda, praise to Amida Buddha. The singers remark on how delightful it is, this Nembutsu prayer dance. In addition to prayer, they explain, there are all manner of religious austerities he can perform, such as sitting out in the cold, taking baths in ice water, or burning moxa. By all means, their Lord should do his penance at home. No, no, he has the body of a mere mortal. Do they think he needs to undergo such violent austerities? At any rate, he is not allowed out. We hear that, though his heart would fly to his beloved Hanago, he has been caught up in a thorn bush at home. His request rejected, he sinks to the ground in gloomy thought. He has another idea. If he cannot go out, then he will lock himself up in their Buddhist altar room, and for 7 days and 7 nights he will meditate. A wonderful suggestion. She will sit by his side and serve him tea. No, no. A woman's presence would only hinder him. Even one look at her would render his efforts futile. Whatever happens, she is not to come to see him. In that case, meditation is also forbidden. But how can she refuse every single idea he comes up with? This time, he begs her from the bottom of his heart. The maid Chieda is moved to see how fervently he pleads. The second maid, Sayada, agrees. If he is forbidden everything, then she would feel sorry for him. They both plead on Lord Ukyo's behalf. Very well, she can see their point. She is prepared to let him meditate. for one night. Then, more than one night is not allowed? That's right. 2 nights is forbidden. Very well. Then tonight, all night, he will perform Zen meditation. And they will see each other again early tomorrow morning. But she must remember, if he hears a lot of women talking, he won't be able to concentrate. On no account should they come anywhere near. Lady Tamanoi promises to stay away, but he is to understand that it will only be for the one night. She must not come to see him. But only for one night. She's clever, that one. But after all, she is only a woman. Lord Ukyo is delighted at having fooled his wife. Now, before anything else, he will call his manservant Taro-kaja and tell him everything. That was quick. His lord seems in especially fine spirits today. It's no wonder, he replies, for the old witch has given him a night off. He can go to see Hanago. How did he manage that? The actor is Ichikawa Someguro. Lord Ukyo explains that he told her he would meditate all night. What a good idea that was. But regarding that, Lord Ukyo has a request, and he tells his servant to listen. What request would that be? Though he told her not to approach while he was meditating, the mountain witch is bound to come and peek at him from the shadows. If she doesn't see anyone, there'll be trouble. Of course, it will be rather uncomfortable, but tonight, for just one night, he is to take his place. Taro-kaja would normally obey without hesitation, but in this only, he begs to be excused. And why is that? It is just that her ladyship can be so frightening. Again, we revert to a pure kabuki style as Taro-kaja begins to describe Lady Tamanoi in dance form. He mimes her holding up a mirror. When his lordship is at home, we're told, his wife is all sweetness and light. She dabs on face powder, although no amount seems to be enough. How frightening she would be if she discovered his plan. She would turn into a mountain witch, a demon transformed by jealousy and hate. Poor Tarokaja would be beaten to death. He begs to be excused from such a frightening task. So, he is afraid of the old witch, but not of his lord. The hateful Tarokaja must come here at once, for Lord Ukyo will cut him in two. The servant changes his mind. It is his lord who is the more frightening. He will obey his command. Is he telling the truth? The absolute truth. Is he certain? Absolutely certain. He was only joking just now. But what a bad joke it was. If he's about to go off to see Hanago, he'd hardly be in the mood to kill his servant. Now, come at once. First, sit here. Now, cover himself with this. From whichever angle, one cannot tell who it is. Tarokaja has heard how uncomfortable this Zen meditation is. Yes, it probably will be, but it's only for the one night. If the old witch does come to visit, he must not take off the robe. He wouldn't dream of it. And he is not to say a word. Don't worry, he won't. In that case, he'll be on his way. If he is going to see Hanago, Tarokaja asks him to give his regards to her friend Kobai for him. So, he's been getting on with that Kobai, has he? But he shouldn't be walking around if he's supposed to be meditating. He is not to take the robe off. And he is not to make a sound. Then he'll be on his way. But come back soon. Saraba, Saraba, farewell, farewell. The singers describe how stealthily he goes, fading into the gathering twilight, his heart filled with thoughts of sweet romance. How happy he feels. He'll hurry now to Hanago's side. As he'll be visiting Hanago, would he please give Tarokaja's regards to Kobai? But what's he thinking? He shouldn't be up on his feet if he's meditating. But it will be so uncomfortable. Parodying a famous 10th century poem from the tales of Ise, the lyrics now tell of the lady who is left behind like an old, discarded robe. Our attention turns to Lady Tamanoi. She is blinded by love for her husband. Though he is pursuing the Buddha's path, yet her heart goes out to him. Lady Tamanoi can no longer bear the thought of him suffering and must come to take a look. Tonight, all night, her dear husband is meditating. Though she promised solemnly not to disturb him, if she stays hidden behind the door, then she can just take a peek. The poor thing seems to be in such discomfort. Seeing him suffering, how can she possibly keep away? She calls her two maids. Obeying their lady's instructions, with all due ceremony, they bring tea and cakes. She promised not to disturb him, but she just can't bear to see him in pain. She simply couldn't stop herself from coming. How would he like a drop of sake? If not sake, then perhaps something else. The lyrics tell us that with wholehearted devotion, she has prepared tea and cakes. Surely the Buddha himself could not censure such loving care. Won't he even take some tea? Now feeling rejected, her aspect turns sour. The musicians take over her lines. This behavior, they sing, is simply too much. She points to herself as we hear that, as his wife, she has done all she could for him. Yet still he hides his face, pretending to know nothing. She entreats. Is that an honorable way for a man to behave? She poses in the shape of a Buddhist statue and then prays, as we hear that no matter how devotedly he pursues the Buddha's path, by not saying a word, by not showing his face, he causes her to suffer. Lady Tamanoi indicates that one of her maids should go over to her husband. But the maid is reluctant. The maid tries to prevent her lady from going near too. Unable to keep away, her tears are those of a tender, foolish woman. How exasperated she feels. She must at least see his face. At last, the maids are ordered to take action. He is Taro-kaja. Where has Lord Ukyo gone? Will he not say? His lord has gone to see the lady Hanago. How dare he address her as lady? She is nothing but a strumpet. 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 He meant to say strumpet. He has gone to see the strumpet Hanago and ordered the Taro-kaja stay covered up with that robe. With his fan, Taro-kaja mimes drawing a sword, as he recalls how his lord threatened to slice off his head. Truly, he had no choice in the matter. It was never Taro-kaja's idea. He pleads for his very life. He begs the maids to intercede on his behalf. We are told how the normally cheerful Taro-kaja shrinks with fear at the thought of the mountain witch's punishment. So, he said he would kill him if he didn't obey his command. If only he had told her he wanted to see Hanago. If only for one night, she is not the sort of person who would have refused. But to think how he deceived her. Lady Tamanoi feels like she is on fire with bitter rage. Their lord has indeed been wicked. Chieda and Saeda sympathize with their mistress. Now that he has confessed, she can see that Tarokaja is not to blame and will not punish him. Instead, she has a request. Will he listen? What kind of request could it be? Just as he appeared to be Lord Ukyo just now, he is to help her look the same way. But he couldn't possibly do such a thing. If he were to do that, then when his master returns, he'd really be for the chop. He begs that she let him off this time. What's that he's saying? He is afraid of his master, but not of her. Isn't he afraid she will punish him? He will help her. He will help her. Whatever happens, his survival comes first. He will do whatever she pleases. Then be quick and put the robe on her. The musicians describe how he checks her appearance carefully. She looks just like him, as close in appearance as the sweet flag and the iris. The maids, too, find the resemblance striking. Then, she really looks like Lord Ukyo. They have done a good job. Now they can retire to the next room and rest. Tarokaja is only too grateful. Under no circumstances are they to act as though anything were wrong. They humbly obey. The backdrop lifts to reveal a second group of musicians. They are of the Nagaota school, the oldest in Kabuki and the one style of music that is frequently heard with the Hayashi percussion. In contrast to those of the Tokiwaza school on the right, the lyrics of Nagaota songs emphasize poetic imagery rather than narrative. It is now early morning, and Lord Ukyo is on his way home. With the lovers' tryst in mind, the musicians have sung of a brocade sash untied, of undergarments loosened, as the lovers opened their hearts to each other. Now, as he stumbles on his way back, Lord Ukyo's appearance is unkempt, and we hear of his dishevelled hair, its loose strands tangled like the branches of a willow tree blown by the wind. Lord Ukyo is a little the worse for drink. In the singer's lines, to his sleeve still clings her sweet fragrance. In his mind, only her vision remains. Breaking into song himself, he recalls his lover's face as she came to see him off. Tipsy with wine, they argued, for she could not understand why he had to leave. We hear of the songs they sang together. Lord Ukyo looks up to the sky as he remembers how, while they sang, he glanced up at the scattered clouds of dawn, a sign that they had to part. He peeps back in Hanago's direction. Now, his unsteady footsteps are compared to the darting flight of plover birds as he makes his way back to his mansion. Seeing whom he thinks is Taro-kaja, Lord Ukyo remarks on how good it is to be the master. Just as he commanded, his servant sits there obediently. He is back now. Has the mountain witch stayed away? She did. Then everything has worked out perfectly. But Taro-kaja must feel so uncomfortable. He doesn't? That's a good fellow. It must be true that if there is something that fills the heart, it is bound to show on the outside. If he tries to keep all the happiness of last night inside, the mountain witch is bound to see it in his face, and then there'll be trouble. As there is no one else here he can tell, he asks Taro-kaja to listen to what happened. He agrees to listen. Good man. But first, they should take off the robe. But there again, if they took it off, then Taro-kaja would feel embarrassed, wouldn't he? And he would feel bashful too. Better leave the robe on for now. He agrees. That's a wonderful fellow. Well, first, he went to her place and knocked lightly on the side gate. The following dance section is one of the play's highlights, in which the actor mimes both the parts of Lord Ukyo and his lover Hanago. First, the Tokiwaza singers describe the sweet song of a nightingale as we wait at the mouth of a valley. With lantern in hand, the lovely Hanago arrived to open the gate. In a soft voice, she welcomed Lord Ukyo. The fan is the gate that she opened to let him in. The Nagaota singers take over. From behind the blinds of the house, a breeze carried her lovely scent. The fan becomes the blinds as the two lovers entered. Hanago took his hand and bashfully led him inside. She brought in a tray of food and drink. She prepared and offered him a long tobacco pipe. Lord Ukyo turns and mimes himself receiving the pipe. But just listen. At that time, Hanago spoke. He mimes writing, for Hanago complained that she sent him countless letters. But he rolls the letter scroll up as we hear that she received no reply. She felt a pain in her chest from worry. and Hanago blamed him for keeping away so long. He tears at the fan, for she feared he had discarded and forgotten her. She made to hit him. Her tearful face, we hear, was like a flower drenched with rain. All because of him, she cried herself to sleep. The musicians sing of rain at night, and Lord Ukyo mimes the falling showers. She wept again and scolded him for being hateful. We're told how at first Hanago sulked, but then, softened by his words, she could not help but smile. They retired to her room, where she took this robe and put it on him. Listen now. They drank and ate and talked, and then they even danced and sang. Lord Ukyo mimes playing the three-stringed shamisen as he recalls how they enjoyed their time. For hours upon hours, they played, talked, and even argued. He flaps his arms like wings, for all too soon they heard the cries of forest crows, signaling the dawn. He tried to leave, but she held on to his sleeve. He could not stay. He mimes horns on his head to represent his jealous demon of a wife. Was he really so anxious to see his wife's dear face again? She thinks he wanted to see the old witch's face? What an idea! He then offered to describe what she looks like in the form of a popular ballad. Making fun of his wife, he mimes chanting. The old hag, he said, has a most unusual face. She has a short, stubby nose and big, revolving eyes. Her complexion is as black as pitch. And all in all, why, she looks just like a mountain ape. She creeps around like a miserable, rain-drenched monkey. That will do for today, he says. They'd better stop before the mountain witch realizes what happened. He can take off that robe now. He wasn't supposed to wear it forever. Lord Ukyo himself will take it off. The scoundrel deceived her and ran off somewhere. Where was it? Tell her now. He went to worship at a temple in Kyushu. But how could he get there and back in one night? Does he expect her to believe that? Will she have to beat the truth out of him? Or rather, he went to the farewell performances at the Kabuki-za in Kobukicho. Liar. She demands that somebody catch him for her. Lord Ukyo tries to escape his wife's clutches as he begs for his life. We hear that in the struggle, even the reed mats are kicked up in the air. In her bitter rage and jealousy, however, she will pursue him to the end. This translation of Migawari Zazen, the Zen substitute, was written and narrated by Paul Griffith.